podcast, everybody. Today is we have a very special episode for you. The NFL draft is just about to start, and we are going to be giving you our live reactions to each top 10 pick. We don't want to do the whole first round, but...
because we'd be here for...
3 hours.
5. So, before the draft starts... we'll just disclose, this is the first one I think you've ever really paid attention to because you haven't cared until now.
No.
I'm just going to say the draft is not as exciting as everyone makes it out to be. We're going to watch it because it brings ratings and we love ratings. So we're going to talk about the draft. But it is the most overhyped, overpublicized, overanalyzed event in all of sports. I mean, they've been analyzing the draft since the Super Bowl ended in February. We've had 2 months of nonstop analysis of the draft and mock drafts, and it's too much. I am so thankful that this day is here because I'm so tired of either one, having to listen to the analysis about the draft or avoiding the analysis of the draft because these talking heads, they all say the same thing over and over and over. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I think it was last week I was flipping channels, and I won't mention the network, but they had people calling in pretending to be a general manager of a team.
I came downstairs and saw you watching that. I came downstairs and saw you watching that, and I was so confused.
Right, and they were proposing a trade, and then these talking heads on TV were analyzing the trade of whether they should do it or not. That's the point the draft has gotten to. So I'm extremely thankful the draft is here so we can end all of that. So,
all right. So what the plan is, what I think we're going to do is before each pick, we are going to give our prediction on who it's going to be, who we think it's going to be, and we're going to wait until that pick comes. And then after the pick is, final, we're going to talk about it. See, like what we think about it. And we're just going to keep repeating that until we get to round 10.
Pick 10.
Pick 10. Yes, pick 10.
And in full disclosure, we're going to cut this.
Because it's going to be like 10, 15 minutes.
You're going to cut it and edit it so that this is like a 30 to 40 minute podcast instead of 4 hours. So, with that said, Jacksonville is officially on the clock as we sit here right now. So, what's your prediction?
My prediction is that they are going to... I said in our last episode that they were going to take an lineman. I don't see it anymore. I think they still have a chance to, but I think they'll take Trayvon Walker.
Okay. So, you're right. Our last podcast, you did say they should take an offensive lineman. And I'm not going to lie, that never even crossed my mind with Jacksonville. But after you said it, I started thinking about it. Jacksonville should take an offensive lineman.
They should, but I don't think they will.
No, they won't. But look, Jacksonville is bad, right? They have a ton of needs. Their defense is awful. But you've got your alleged franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who, different discussion for different time. I disagree with that still. But if he's your franchise quarterback, you've got to get an offensive line in front of him. And they don't have that right now. So I thought what you said the last podcast was spot on. They should take an offensive lineman with this pick, knowing that you're not going to win this year. I mean, are they going to be better? Yes. Do they have more weapons? Yes. I mean, Travis Etienne is coming back at running back. They've still got James Robinson. They signed Christian Kirk.
Ingram,
Yeah, so they've got more weapons, but if if Trevor Lawrence is your franchise quarterback, it's kind of like Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Protect your franchise player. Go get an offensive lineman. If you're better this year and you win 5 or 6 games, that's fine. Next year, you're going to be in the top 5 again picking, and then you can start to improve your defense. So I think you're right. They should take an offensive lineman. I said the last podcast, I think they should take Trayvon Walker from Georgia, but I think at the end of the day, here in a couple minutes, they're going to take Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. So we'll see.
I mean, I want them to take an alignment? Yes. Do I think they'll take an alignment? No. They're not gonna do
So
that.
you're saying Trayvon Walker, I'm saying Aiden Hutchinson.
So both edge rushers. We're both in the same lane.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see.
With the first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker.
All right, and Roger Goodell just announced that it was indeed Trayvon Walker from Georgia.
This makes me a little bit happy because on the last podcast, as one of my predictions, I don't think I said this would happen, but I said it should happen. I would have taken this guy all day, every day, number 1. In my mind, he's the clear-cut number 1 pick in the draft, so good for Jacksonville.
I think Trayvon or Hutchinson would have been good here. I think honestly that Trayvon is better.
I still agree with your assessment that they need an offensive lineman, but
Oh, I still believe that wholeheartedly, but they wouldn't have taken that.
if you were not going to do that, I think Trayvon Walker was the absolute right pick. So good for Jacksonville. They got better today. So Detroit is now on the clock, and at this point, there's no discussion.
It's Aiden Hutchinson.
It's Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, there's no, we can't argue, just no.
Yeah, and there's really no analysis. I mean, Detroit's one of those teams that needs everything. You're not going to reach at number 2 for a quarterback, at least with the quarterbacks in this draft. So this is a easy check mark. Aiden Hutchinson.
Unless we get surprised
No.
and it's just like Malik Willis or something, but no, I don't see that at all. So Trayvon Walker, first pick of the draft.
And Aiden
And
Hutchinson
Detroit-
about to be number 2.
Detroit's pick is in.
And let's see who it is.
Let's see who it is.
With the second pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Aiden Hutchinson.
That was very obvious. Roger Goodell just said Aiden Hutchinson is the second overall pick.
To your point, that was obvious.
That was very
I mean,
obvious.
so here's the only analysis I will provide here. I think Aiden Hutchinson is a very good player. I think he's a top 10 pick. But if it were me here, I'd have taken Thibodeau from Oregon. I think Thibodeau is a better player. I think he was hurt last year. I think there were questions about his desire to play football. But I think at the end of the day, Thibodeau is going to be a better player than Hutchinson. But again, obvious pick for Detroit. Good for them, makes them better. They'll be picking in the top 5 again next year.
All right, so now we've got the Texans on the clock. They need everybody. They need anybody. Anybody they could take would make that team better.
This
And
is true.
what they really should take is an offensive line. That's why I'm going with Evan Neal.
I want to disagree with you, but I don't think I can. The only other player I could see them taking is the offensive lineman from NC State. Acuna. I can't say his name. I think you're right. I think it's going to be an offensive lineman. They need everything. They desperately need a quarterback, but again, just like Detroit, they're not going to reach at number 3 for a quarterback.
They're gonna have to wait until next year.
Which is fine, and that's what I said in the last podcast, is any of these teams picking in the top 5 that need a quarterback, just wait. Build your team outside of the quarterback, and then next year go get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud at 1 or 2. That's what you do. So I think you're right. It's going to be an offensive lineman. You say Neal. I'm just going to disagree. I think it's going to be the NC State offensive lineman. So
Okay.
We'll find out here in a minute.
We'll find out in a second.
With the third pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Derek Stingley Jr.
All right, and Roger Goodell just announced that, wow, I did not see that coming. Derek Stingley Jr., the cornerback from LSU.
I mean, good player. As we just said, Houston needs everything. So, God, I don't think we can be shocked on this.
I'm not shocked.
I mean, he's going to be more of an impact player than an offensive lineman, so I can't disagree with the pick. So, again, makes him a better team. Really good player. Can't disagree with it at all.
No.
So now this is when the draft starts to get interesting. So I was telling you earlier, usually in the NFL draft, which is why it's the most overhyped thing, like, you pretty much know who everyone's going to take already, at least in the top 10. This year's a little bit interesting because you've got multiple teams with multiple picks that have multiple needs. So I think it gets really interesting here at 4 with the Jets, and then we got the Giants, Panthers, and then the Giants again. We could see some fireworks here, I think, potentially with the next 4 or 5 picks. And I'm not sure anybody really knows who's going to get taken.
All right, so let's talk about the Jets, though. The Jets are now on the clock.
Jets are officially on the clock.
I predict, and I said this last episode, I still think it's Garrett Wilson.
It'd be a great pick. I still contend they're going to wait to get Garrett Wilson or a wide receiver with their number 10 pick. I think here, I'll go back to the same thing I said about Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville. I think if I were the Jets, I would take an offensive lineman to protect your quarterback.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't...
Especially with the pick that was just taken.
I don't think that the Jets can wait if they really want Garrett Wilson, because I think that the Giants get the 5th pick. So I think they'll go with an O-lineman or something. And then 7th pick, they might take a wide receiver, and that wide receiver might be Garrett Wilson. The Jets need a wide receiver.
You're right, but here's why I disagree with you. If Garrett Wilson was heads and shoulders the best receiver in the draft, then you absolutely take him at 4. But here's the problem. And we talked about this on the last podcast too, this draft is so wide receiver heavy. There are so many good wide receivers in this draft that I think you have the luxury to wait to 10. Because if Garrett Wilson gets taken, fine, then you take Jameson Williams. If he's gone, then you take Drake London. Chris Olave's still there. I mean, there are so many wide receivers here. I think you have the luxury to wait on a wide receiver at your 10 pick. So here, me personally, I'm taking one of the offensive linemen. The other pick I could potentially see here is Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, the cornerback, because they need defensive help too. But I would take one of the 2 offensive linemen.
I'm still going with Garrett Wilson.
You think that you still?
I still think they're. I don't know why, but I just have a strong feeling. But we'll just have to see.
With the 4th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Sauce Gardner.
And with the 4th pick, the Jets picked Ahmad Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati.
Oh, Sauce. Well, that was my prediction. I can't. it's one of those I can't disagree with because, again, the Jets are so bad they need everything. But I would have taken one of the offensive linemen, but I can't disagree with it. Good pick for the Jets. The Jets got better.
I honestly don't disagree with it either. I was so confident about Garrett Wilson. Now the real question is, I actually don't know when he's going.
I think he's going to the Jets at 10. I'm telling you. So now we move on to the Giants, who are on the clock at number 5. So the Giants are another one of those absolutely train wreck of an organization, a train wreck of a team. They need everything as well. So here's my prediction with the Giants. So they didn't re-sign Daniel Jones. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So he's essentially in the last year of his contract. That tells me the Giants are in the quarterback market next year. And they're not a good team. They will probably be picking top 5. So they're going to have a shot at, again, a Stroud or a Young. If I'm the Giants, and that's my thought process, and I'm building for the future, you have to go get one of the offensive linemen. You have to do it.
I 100% agree. I think they don't want Daniel Jones. They're not going to stick with Daniel Jones for any, they're not going to hold on to him.
No, and the only other position I could have seen them taking was a cornerback, and the 2 best cornerbacks have already been taken. So I think the Giants pick is a no-brainer. It has to be one of the offensive linemen.
Which offensive lineman? I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see.
We'll find out.
The New York Football Giants select Kayvon Thibodeau.
And with the 5th pick, Sam Prince just announced Kayvon Thibodeau, the defensive edge from Oregon.
I love this dude. I just said it. I think he's going to be better than Hutchinson. I did not see this with the Giants here.
No offensive player is gone yet.
Wow. I'm a little shocked by this pick. It's not a bad pick. Again, the Giants need everything. I'm surprised they took him here.
I am too.
That's the first surprise of the draft that we've gotten.
I agree. This one, little unexpected.
Good pick.
I mean, of course, good pick.
All right.
Need everything. It's a good pick.
It's a good pick. Moving to Carolina Panthers on the clock.
Gonna be honest.
I'm not gonna.
I have no clue.
I was gonna say the exact same thing.
You could go quarterback Malik Willis.
No.
You could go anybody here again, but who? Nobody knows.
I think they're gonna take an offensive lineman because that would be the boring thing to do at this point. And so, but I have no analysis of Carolina. I don't know what they're going to do.
Honestly, whoever they pick here, I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody because I don't think anyone has any idea who they're going to pick.
We'll find out.
The Carolina Panthers select Ikem Ekwonu, tackle, North Carolina State.
All right, and Roger Goodell just announced Ikem Ekwonu, the tackle from NC State.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Look, I feel a little bit bad about our previous analysis about Carolina, but look, how am I supposed to know what Carolina wants or needs when Carolina doesn't even know what Carolina wants or needs? So this is a good pick. Again, they have a lot of holes, a lot of needs. This makes them better. So
I agree.
We'll move on to New York Giants again. So here's what I'm going to say. I was a little surprised by the Thibodeau pick. I think if you're going to go on that side of the ball, you stay there. I think they're going to take Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame.
That's actually like exactly what I was gonna say.
I mean, if you're gonna go defense, just do it.
Just keep running it, and gotta stack up that defense.
The New York Giants select Evan Neal.
All right, Roger Goodell just said with the 7th pick, the Giants took Evan Neal.
Good pick. That's who I thought they'd take at 5.
See, honestly, if he didn't go here, I don't know where he was going to go.
I don't know where he would have gone either. I think he would have fallen significantly because I don't think another team needs an offensive lineman until like 13 at Houston, 14 at Baltimore. So, good pick by the Giants. He can block for CJ Stroud next year when CJ Stroud is their starting quarterback.
He can block for Saquon right now, too.
That's a bad team, man.
It's
a bad team.
ugly team. But good pick.
They've had 2 good picks, so good for the Giants. So next is the Atlanta Falcons at 8. 1,000% they take a wide receiver.
Oh, it's Garrett
The
Wilson.
only question is
It's Garrett
what
Wilson.
wide receiver?
It's here. I think it is an Ohio State wide receiver. Garrett, I don't
Do you consider Jamison Williams a Ohio State wide receiver?
know. I don't care that he played for Ohio State for.
It's where he was born and raised. It's where he learned all his talent.
Yeah, but then he went to Alabama.
All right, so we both agree receiver. You think it's going to be Garrett?
I think Garrett is the first wide receiver to go. I would not be surprised if another wide receiver went here.
I think Garrett Wilson is the best wide receiver. I'm going to go on a limb. I think they take Jamison Williams.
I don't disagree with you, but I think they will take Garrett Wilson.
All right, so we'll see here in just a second which wide receiver the Atlanta Falcons take.
If they even take a wide receiver.
They are taking a wide receiver.
The Atlanta Falcons select Drake London.
Roger Goodell just announced that Drake London from USC is going to the Falcons.
I'm shocked. Again, we both said wide receiver. I'm shocked that it's Drake London.
I now 100% think that the Jets take him at Garrett Wilson at 10.
I would agree with that. So, I mean, Drake London, good wide receiver. Better than Garrett Wilson? No.
Do I think it's a bad pick? Not necessarily.
Bad? No. Questionable. This is the first questionable pick that we've gotten in the draft so far. So, I mean, look, we're not at the evaluations. We're not inside the room. We're not talking to the players. I'm not breaking down tape. So, could Drake London end up being the best wide receiver out of this class? Potentially. I don't think so. I'm a little surprised by the pick.
I am too.
So next is Seattle at 9. And I'm not going to lie. Seattle's another one of those teams that has so many needs.
And I'm going to be honest. I actually don't know.
Well, I have 2 thoughts.
I think it's on defense.
Oh, I agree. Pete Carroll's a defensive guy. So I think he either takes Kyle Hamilton, the safety, or he takes Jermaine Johnson, the defensive tackle. That's just Seattle's MO. They're a defensive team. However, I could also go out on a limb and see them taking Malik Willis. Because you
don't want to stick with Drew Lock.
They are not going to go into the season with Drew Lock. So they're either going to make a trade for a quarterback, or they're going to pick one up in the draft here. So I think it'd be a reach on Malik Willis. I would not pick him, but it would not shock me if they took a quarterback here. But I still think it's going to be on defense.
I agree. I do. I just don't know.
All right, let's see what happens.
With the 9th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Charles Cross.
And Roger Goodell just announced with the 9th pick, the Seahawks take Charles Cross, a tackle from Mississippi State.
That's the
Why?
That's the
What
most-
are you doing?
It's the
That
most
is-
boring pick in the world for Seattle. I mean, that tells me they had no confidence in either of the quarterbacks, which they should not have. But their defense is in shambles.
So what are you going to do? Protect Drew Lock?
I mean, Drew Lock needs all the help Drew Lock can get because Drew Lock is awful.
But even with this help, he's not going to do anything.
I mean, they're going to go get another quarterback. They are not going to rely on Drew Lock. So, is Charles Cross a good pick? Sure. Is he a flashy pick? No. Would I have taken him here? No. I probably would have traded back and got more draft picks. I don't have analysis on this pick. It's just blah. It's a blah pick.
Boring.
It's 100% boring. So, last and not least, the New York Jets
Garrett Wilson.
are on
I've
the
said it
pick at
500 times. This time it's actually Garrett Wilson.
Well, I believe I said on the last podcast, Garrett Wilson would go at 10 to the Jets. And I am 100% convinced Garrett Wilson is going to go number 10 to the Jets. Which, by the way, I've had 10 minutes now to evaluate my assessment of the Drake London pick to Atlanta. And I think I said it was questionable a few minutes ago. It's a bad pick. You left Garrett Wilson on the board and took Drake London instead of him. They're going to regret that pick. So, Jets are up. I think we both agree it's going to be Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, if it's not, I will be shocked. I will be shocked if it's not Garrett Wilson.
Only other person it could be is Jameson Williams, but they have to take
They
Garrett
have
Wilson
to
here.
take Garrett Wilson.
Well, we'll find out.
10th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Garrett Wilson.
Roger Goodell just announced with the pick 10, Garrett Wilson from Ohio State
Great
goes
pick.
to the Jets.
Great pick. Good for Garrett Wilson. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a quarterback that can throw him the ball, but
Nope, he does not.
could be the worst landing spot for him. But good for Garrett, top 10 pick. I've been calling that one for forever. Number 10 to the Jets. So, good for Garrett, good for the Jets.
I don't want to see him against the Dolphins, but it's going to happen.
Dude's a stud.
Amazing.
So,
Sad to see him leave Ohio State, though.
So that's the top 10, our first live podcast.
What would you rate this draft? Like the top 10 at least.
So I would rate it as predictable.
I agree. Very
So
predictable.
it wasn't exciting. I mean,
I think
I think the only surprising pick was London.
that's what I
for
was
the
just about to
Falcons.
say.
I don't think there was one other pick where I was like, I don't really understand why they did that. I mean, could you have disagreed with who another team took? Absolutely, but did anyone make a bad pick or a pick that really wasn't predictable? Not really. So I would say this first round or the first 10 picks of this draft were very blah predictable.
Yeah. Maybe in these later picks it's going to happen, but we're not going to cover that
So that'll be
this episode.
That'll be the next podcast. We'll just recap the entire draft.
All right. We'll see you then.